Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. I am actually recording here from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm in the airport. I just got done with the National Wild Turkey Federation convention, and it's about 7:30 in the morning, Nashville, Tennessee time here. I guess that's Central Time, and had a great opportunity to watch a friend of mine, Bo Brooks, Casey Brooks' son, Bo, called in the intermediate division of the National Wild Turkey Federation calling contest, and he was able to, out of 15 contestants, he finished fourth, and got a nice big trophy, and it's great to see the progress he's made in his own turkey hunting, turkey calling. He's come a long ways, and a couple of those kids, even in the Polt division, the young division, the younger division, I should say, and the juniors, just amazing callers. Some of them could call in the pro division. They're so good. So it's awesome to see the young talent doing their thing, and Bo came all the way from Washington, him and his family, to compete, and he did a great job and got a big old trophy, and I'm proud of him. So I want to shout out to him. He makes his own turkey calls, makes his own elk calls, and I actually haven't used his turkey calls yet, but I used his mouth diaphragms a lot this season, and really like the single lady. It's a single reed call that he has. He also makes doubles and triples, but I've always been kind of a single reed guy, and so I'm anxious to try out the turkey calls as well. We've got, one of the things with me coming to the show at National Wild Turkey Federation is that it's, for the last several years, it's been at the same time as the NWTF and the Western Hunting Expo have been at the same time, and last year I went to the Western Hunting Expo, and that's such a great show, and I hated to miss that show, but also hate to miss NWTF. So I understand next year the shows are going to be staggered, so hopefully I'll be able to attend both. Wanted to take time here on this podcast this morning while I had some time here in the airport just to answer a few questions from listeners and see if I could provide some value here this morning. This is a question from Stephen Sparacia. He says, Jay, thank you for all the helpful information you provide on your podcast. You have helped me sharpen my skills in the field. I know you have had some recent podcasts answering questions about the elk draw, and it's much appreciated. I was wondering what your thoughts are on the dates this year. The archery hunt starts on September 15th in Arizona, and I put in for Unit 5A with 6 points. I will only be able to take 1 week off of work if I'm drawn. Would you recommend taking off the first or second week of the hunt? Thanks again for all you do, Stephen. First of all, Stephen, I think you have a pretty good chance of drawing. In regards to the dates, I think the dates of September 15th through the 28th are about as premium of dates as you could have for an archery season in Arizona. I think last year the season started on September 9th and ran through the 22nd, and I just feel like always when the season starts that early, the elk aren't bugling as much, they're not herding cows as much, they're not pushing them around. It is a great time early to catch some of those big bulls before they've gotten with those big groups of cows, and it's a double-edged sword because they may not be as active, may not be as bugling as much, but the bigger bulls might be by themselves. So one of the benefits of having the September 15th through the 28th dates is the bugling and the intensity should be better. I believe this year the dark moon is on September 20th. We've talked about it in other episodes. I believe with that dark moon, So on the 15th, it will be even a dark moon, and it'll be moving into a period of darkness. So 5 days on either side of the dark moon. So the 15th and to the 25th, that 10-day window of a fairly dark moon, I think will increase daytime activity, which in turn will be more activity for you archers to get out there and get after those elk. So I think if you look at the dates of the 15th through the 28th, you have to then decide, if you only have 1 week, which week are you going to hunt? And I think from a bugling standpoint, I would have to go with the second week. I think that whether it would be, I guess like the last week would be the 21st to the 28th, I think you'll have more consistent bugling. I think you'll have more chaotic bugling. But I think both weeks, the benefit of the first week is, if you do a lot of scouting, you're going to be the first, the first week you're going to get the first crack at those elk. And that's a plus too. But one could say that, all of the pressure is going to come in on that first week, and they'll, might shut them down for a few days. And I've seen that too, where, the hunt starts and it's great for the first day, and then, day 2, 3, and 4 kind of lull out just because the elk have gotten pressured and they end up shutting down. So I would probably go with the second week. If you only had 7 days, I would probably go with the second week. I think you're going to get more consistent bugling. I think you'll have more cows in cycle, and I think that gives you a better opportunity to pursue them on foot with your bow, with your cow call and your bugle, and get after them. So, Stephen, I hope that answers your question. The only other drawback for hunting second, like I said, is, other people get first shot at the bulls. And, if there's a particular bull that you're after, somebody else may be taking him home. But in general, I think you'll just have more action on that second week. So I hope that answers your question, Stephen. Thanks for sending me the email, and thanks for supporting my podcast. Got a message here from Casey Jones. He says, Jay, love the podcast. Interesting story. My XM radio subscription expired January 1st. Instead of renewing it at over $100, I just listened to your podcast and a few others nonstop. So thanks for saving me money, smiley face. I've learned so much over the past month and a half. I put in for the draws and points in every single state for big game, and I hope you keep covering all the states as they get closer to the deadlines. I've been a part of Midwest Whitetail since the beginning. Filming whitetails hunts was a passion until I went on my first elk hunt 4 years ago, and how things have changed. All I can think about is now is when I'm going on my next epic western hunt. This year was the first elk hunt to air on Aaron's show. As you know, he killed a bull. I shot bull in Montana and New Mexico. So we're slowly getting some big game hunts on the show. I'll be in Nashville on Saturday, so if you're not swamped, I'll introduce myself. Be safe on your travels to Music City. Casey Jones from Indiana. Casey, I'm sorry I didn't get to meet up with you. Not sure how we missed each other, but I was able to bump into a bunch of J. Scott podcast listeners and share some stories and shake some hands. And congratulations on getting the elk fever, and congratulations on your success in Montana and New Mexico, and I'm glad you've got the elk bug, and I appreciate you sending me a message, and hopefully I can meet up with you next time that I come here to NWTF. Thanks for sending me the message. Here's an email from David. It says, Jay, I'm usually behind in my podcast listening, but I was hoping you could ask at least one more question to any of the outfitters in other places, Alaska, Canada, wherever, if they cater to archery hunters or experience in taking archery hunters, especially for all forms of sheep, Doll, Stone, Rocky Mountain. I don't know if I'll ever be in good enough shape to complete my sheep slam, but I'm hoping in my son's lifetime that he will be able to, and like me, he is trying to do his archery as well. You know, David, thanks for the message here. You know, one thing that's interesting, I have outfitter buddies all over, and I will say this, I am an archery hunter, so I don't say this other than just to say a lot of my outfitter buddies don't frown upon archery, but it's definitely one of those things that if someone is coming with a bow and they can't get it done, in essence, you know, they're making bad shots or they're not in shape, it becomes a time issue. And, you know, I can see how hunters would say, you know, well, it's my hunt, I should be able to do it whenever I want, and an outfitter shouldn't, you know, dictate the time frame in which the hunt gets completed or the efficiency. And I might just say there's two sides to that story. As an archer myself, I know that my job is to be able to, you know, be in shape. My job is to be able to make great shots and, you know, be efficient with my equipment. I think sometimes outfitters shy away from wanting to take archery hunters because if they take a rifle hunter, they can, you know, hike up over, you know, 6 mountains up and down and you know, really, really work hard to find that trophy animal. And then once they find them, they can go ahead and efficiently get that animal on the ground and get that animal harvested. Whereas with an archery hunter, you do all of that same work, and you may chase that animal and spook them, have to relocate them, and, you know, do that over and over and over. And so from an outfitter's perspective, sometimes there's several different types of hunters. There's several different types of archery hunters, some of which hunt with a bow and they're very efficient with their equipment. And then there's some that are not in shape, and there are some that are not the greatest shots, don't practice all the time, don't know their equipment. And that goes with any type of hunting, whether it's rifle hunting, whether it's muzzleloader hunting, handgun hunting, you know, what have you. The only thing I would say is, from an outfitter's perspective, you know, they want to work hard and find that trophy animal, and then they want to get on that animal and they want to get it harvested. So if you have seen some outfitters that don't necessarily jump up and down when they hear that you're an archer, from their perspective, you know, it's a function of efficiency and effectiveness. And if you're very efficient and effective with your bow and you're in very good shape, I think that's a great combination. I think the twist is when you know, you show up, you do shoot, you know, you are an archer, but you basically just shoot your bow every now and then. You don't really know your you know, your trajectory of your arrow. You don't know how to, you know, you're not practiced up, and then the big thing, you're not in shape. I think that can be a huge turn off, so to speak, for an outfitter who's working their butt off to do their job. So, I mean, I hope that brings a different perspective. As an archery hunter myself, I know that I owe it to the outfitter that, you know, if he does his job and, you know, puts me on an animal, that I can get over there and get it harvested, and, you know my equipment. And sometimes I've guided archery hunters that really have no business archery hunting, and in essence they become archery hunters just because that's the only way to draw a certain tag, but they don't put in the effort and the work to you know, do what they need to do and get their job done. And I don't think that's acceptable. I think I think you need to be in tip-top shape if you're an archer. I don't see any excuse why, there would be an archer that's not in shape because, whereas a rifle hunter, can shoot something at, 200, 300, 400 yards away, the archery hunt just begins when you get to that 100-yard, mark where you have to then get in tighter to that animal. And I have seen hunters that show up that are, they haven't worked out. They haven't done any running or walking with the backpack, and, they're tuckered out after the first stalk. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I have seen outfitter friends of mine that do frown upon archery, and if you ever wonder why, I think I covered some of those reasons. With that being said, I don't need to get a bunch of emails or people saying that I'm anti-archery, because I'm not. I am an archery hunter. I'm just trying to bring in perspective from the outfitter's point of view why sometimes archery, is quote-unquote frowned upon, because I know a lot of my outfitter buddies have had the same thing where people show up and they're just physically not ready for the hunt. They're mentally not ready for the hunt. And, they're an archer. That means they shoot their bow. But I think there's a lot more to being an archery hunter than just being able to, draw back and shoot a bow. I hope that answers your question. You do have a second part here. It says, I guess I don't know how to rate the podcast, but they are great, and I really appreciate being able to listen to them while I'm driving down the road every day. I'm not sure if this is something you can fix or it's a problem with me listening to them in my truck, but sometimes the volume between you and your caller are very different, where I have to turn up the volume to listen to you, and then I have to turn down the volume to listen to them. Not a complaint by any means, just don't know if it's my podcast in my truck or others are experiencing the same issue from time to time. David, I would say no, it's a very valid issue, and I did get some email complaints and direct message complaints on Instagram. I had a series of podcast episodes, about 4 or 5 episodes, maybe 6 episodes, where I had some complication between my recording device and the Skype, and I have since, I believe, had that figured out. I was able to level out the audio. And no, guys, anytime that you see any type of issue like that, I need to know about it, and I got some emails about it, and so I believe I've got it fixed. I believe I've got it, completed, and, I've gotten a lot of reports that the audio is much better, and I appreciate any feedback that you guys have, whether it's positive or negative. And certainly I do my best to provide the best service that I can. So certainly I played them in my truck as well, and I definitely saw what you were talking about, and hopefully I've got that fixed. David, thanks for your email, and good luck to you this year hunting. Got an email here from Dave Myrick with Desert Christian Archers. Guys, I just want to remind you, Dark Holborn and myself will be doing a spring turkey hunting seminar March 21st in Phoenix, Arizona at the Calvary Church. I don't have the address right here, but the Calvary Church is basically down off of I-17. Believe somewhere between that Cactus and Thunderbird area. You can see Calvary Church off the west side of I-17 freeway. It's just west of I-17, and we've did the seminar there last year. We bring in a bunch of videos, and then we're going to do a question and answer style. So we're going to talk for a little bit, do somewhat of a seminar, show some videos, do a little bit of instruction and demonstration, and then we're going to do a question and answer session. Everybody that shows up, they're expecting a really big crowd. One thing I will also note is they will be doing a Gould's Turkey Hunt raffle for $10 a ticket. You can put in, buy raffle tickets for $10 to come on a Gould's Turkey Hunt with Dark Holborn and myself down in Sonora, Mexico. One winner will be drawn that night at the DCA turkey hunting seminar. So on March 21st, they will be drawing. You will be able to buy tickets at the seminar, but you can also go and buy your tickets right now online. DesertChristianArchers.org. That's DesertChristianArchers.org /raffles/turkey hunt. And Desert Christian Archers is a 501c3 nonprofit. This is a 501c3 nonprofit donation. They fall under that category. Can also come to the seminar and buy your raffle tickets, and then they're going to have the drawing. This is for a 2018 spring Gould's turkey hunt. If I still have availability in 17, we can possibly do it in 17. One of Dave's concerns was that if they announced the hunt on March 21st, they were worried that there would not be enough time for the winter to plan and schedule. So we call it a 2018 spring hunt. It should take place sometime between about the last week in April to the first 2 weeks in May. And you can go on Colburn and ScottOutfitters.com to see more about our turkey hunts. Also, I have a Gould's Turkey exclusive website. That's Gould's, that's GOULDS Turkey Hunt, GouldsTurkeyHunt.com, and can watch the videos, and it's a great opportunity to support Desert Christian Archers and also have a chance to win a Gould's turkey hunt. Here's a message from Jeremy Hubbard. Jay, I'm enjoying the podcast. Loads of Arizona hunting knowledge to add to my Oregon background. We have a group of 4 who want to hunt this year. Half of us are experienced deer and elk hunters elsewhere, Oregon and Colorado. None of us have points locally. What's our best shot at getting antlered deer tags this year, group application or solo applications? Based on our math, this is the order we want to apply for mule deer: 20A, 19B, 17B, 19A, 6B, or 6A. Any tips for drawing or specific area-specific tips? Any areas you anticipate having leftover tags for coups for options 3, 4, and 5 on the application? Looking for freezer filler this first year, Jeremy. Jeremy, I am going to cover the deer and bighorn sheep applications a little bit closer to the deadline. I will say that there are rifle mule deer hunt opportunities, although most of the mule deer hunts in Arizona that have, a really good chance to draw, they also have a lot of hunting pressure, and the hunts are not super high quality. If you're just looking to harvest bucks of any sort, these may be great opportunities for you to just fill the freezer and get some meat. But we're going to be breaking down all of the applications as it gets closer. The deadline usually is about the 10th of June, somewhere in that range, and normally the regulations for the deer and sheep regulations don't come out till about turkey season, which is usually about kind of mid-April to the end of April. And I will point out that if you guys do want to hunt with your bows with archery equipment, that is probably going to be your best option. You can buy tags over the counter, and you can hunt in August, and you can also hunt units in December and in January. So as far as a rutting activity, I think your best opportunity is to hunt with a bow in January in the state of Arizona, where most of our units are open. I think that gives you a really good opportunity if you're strictly a rifle hunter. Yes, you may have to stick with some of these other units. I'll get more into it as we get closer. Thanks for your question. Here's a question from Casey. He says, do you know if youth hunts need hunter safety to apply for bonus points? I would like to start building bonus points for my son. but he's only 3 years old. Thanks for your help. Love the podcast, Casey. Casey, you cannot start applying for bonus points until you're 10 years old. So I get to ask this question a lot. Can I start building bonus points for my son or daughter? The answer is you can, but not until they're 10 years old. You have to be 10 in order to get bonus points. Here's a message from my friend Greg Weisner from Aspen, Colorado. He said, I just thought I would let you know our snowpack in the Aspen area is 164% of normal. Fishing has been ridiculous. Take care, Greg Weisner. Greg, that's great news. I'm looking forward to another great season this summer. For the listeners out there that don't know, I spend the last half of May after my Gould's turkey hunts, June, July, and August in Carbondale, Colorado, and do a lot of fishing there on the Roaring Fork River, the Frying Pan River, the Colorado River, and the Eagle River. And it's great to see Colorado having a lot of snow. That makes for lots of good water in the summer. One drawback, there's always, kind of an ebb and flow. With too much snow, we fear some winter die-off on some of our deer herds there in Colorado. So I hope there's a happy medium there where the temperatures aren't too cold and the snow isn't too deep. And hopefully those deer can survive, if they can make it another 30 days without the temps getting too severe, that would be fantastic. So we would have good water for fishing, and we would have, no winter kill. It's going to be interesting to see what damage has already been done. I know the Gunnison Basin area back in 2007 had a severe die-off, and our herds have just got back, not to even where they were, but they really rebounded and are doing well, and we're probably facing another situation. So I just hope, they've had some warm weather as of late, so I'm hoping that we skip out of that and don't have any die-off. But thanks for the message, Greg. Here's a message from Lance Kronberger. Lance is the owner of Freelance Outdoor Adventures in Alaska. I applied for Dall sheep in Alaska and the Chugach and the Toke, and just got a message from him that I was not successful in drawing a Dall sheep hunt in Alaska, but I am happy to report that I drew a mountain goat, actually Dar Colburn, my hunting partner and guiding partner, and I put in Alaska for mountain goats with Frank Sanders, and Frank has a great outfitting business, and I had a podcast with him about a month ago, and Dar and I applied for the first time there for mountain goats with Frank and with Frank Sanders, and we drew. So Dar and I, in August of this coming year, 2017, are going to Alaska mountain goat hunting, and we're super stoked about that. I actually was here at the National Wild Turkey Federation convention and got the word from Dar and from Frank that we had drawn mountain goat tags. So super stoked for that. Also, I guess while we're on that subject of Dall sheep, I actually have a hunt booked in 2018, in July of 2018, for Dall sheep in the Northwest Territories. So this goat hunt is going to be a great addition to mountain hunting, which Dar and I really enjoy. And we have not been to Alaska on a hunt, and we have not been to the Northwest Territories. So I'm stoked about mountain goats in Alaska, as well as the Northwest Territories. Going to get to hunt white sheep. Going to get to hunt the Dall sheep there. So super excited about that new adventure and a kind of a new chapter in my own hunting career, and it's something that both animals, a mountain goat and a Dall sheep, of something that I've wanted to go experience and do. So it's going to be a great opportunity for Dar and I on the mountain goat hunt, and then I'm going to go solo on a backpacking hunt in Northwest Territories. I had a really good time here in Nashville at the National Wild Turkey Federation convention. I stayed at the Opryland Hotel, which is where the convention was, and it's really a great place if you've never been to the Opryland Hotel. It's a really neat place. You walk in and there's these big atrium areas, and then you look up and it's like a glass ceiling, and just beautiful, beautiful. Never had to walk outside, although the weather was fairly pleasant. It was kind of in the 60s, and they're kind of having a warm spell. The third warmest winter on record here in Nashville, Tennessee. But I was able to go through and walk the convention floor, and I always love collecting box calls, and I was able to go to a bunch of different booths and play with a bunch of different turkey calls and box calls and pot and peg calls, and I was able to get 3 new box calls that I think sound really good, and I'm kind of a collector and kind of a box call junkie, so that was fun. I got to watch the calling competitions with Bo Brooks competing in the intermediate division. I was also able to watch the senior finals. There was 15, maybe 14 that made the top, made it through the preliminaries. I believe there was 60 or 70 guys in the preliminaries. They dropped it down to 14, maybe 15 guys. And Jesse Martin actually won his first Grand National Calling title, and it was a great exhibition of turkey calling. They actually did the contest a little different this year. They had scenarios. They had 1 and 2 scenarios, and the callers had to play out in their runs the different scenarios. The first scenario was a springtime scenario with birds on a limb to flying down with all the different sounds. And then they had a fall bird scenario where I believe there was 2 jakes fighting, some young hens and older hens, kind of fighting for attention, trying to gather up some of their poults. So it was a great exhibit of calling expertise, and I always love coming and listening to the best callers in the world. And I'm sorry I missed the Western Hunting Expo, but it was great to get to come here. I also was able to talk to a lot of people about my Gould's turkey hunts, and met a lot of fine people. Had some great dinners, had fun seeing Bo Brooks and Casey Brooks and their whole family, and they're calling here. I've got to put everything up to get on the plane. Guys, we're going to have a bunch of great stuff coming here on the podcast. I want to thank you guys for your support. I want to thank my sponsors, Go Hunt Insider, Phonescope.com, and the Outdoorsmans for their support here of my podcast. And got some really big things coming with announcements here. I'll be able to probably talk about over probably the next week or so going on here. And I just appreciate your support. Please email me if you have any questions or comments. You can do that at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com. You can follow along our adventures on Instagram at jscottoutdoors, and my Facebook page, J. Scott Outdoors Business. It's actually just J. Scott Outdoors, but it's my business page. I also have a personal page on Facebook, but I don't post much content there. Most everything is on the J. Scott Outdoors Facebook page. So, guys, I'm going to get on this flight and head back to Arizona. Got some trips to Mexico planned, scouting some new ranches for Coues deer and for Gould's turkey. Just love this time of year, getting prepared for turkey season. The fishing on all the desert lakes are starting to pick up, and fired up to be a sportsman, and looking forward to applying in the state of Utah. Of course, I drew my Utah elk tag last year, but we're gonna be talking about Utah, and we're gonna be breaking down some of the different state draws and odds here. So stay tuned, and I'm gonna keep trying to bring you good content here. Thanks for your support.